Do you love the field of nutrition, but you feel like you don't really fit the mold of a dietitian? You want to maximize your career options, but you don't see yourself working in a hospital, a nursing home, or a food service institution. Well, let me tell you how I avoided all of that while creating a very unique path for myself as a dietitian. I know what it's like. You're scanning for job listings, you're looking for something exciting only to find dull and uninspiring options in the hospital setting, entry-level positions with poor pay, and nutrition-related jobs that anyone with a high school diploma could qualify for. So I want to share with you in this video the path that I took and how it led me to where I am today. I didn't ever want to work in clinical, community, or food service, the holy grail of the dietetic internship. I've learned that I'm fiercely independent and I couldn't stand to stay in the same job for more than even 4 years in a row before moving on. I've gone through a lot of different jobs and I'm non-traditional that way. That's okay. Traditionally in the field of nutrition, if you go the dietitian route, you get your 4-year degree, then you apply for your internship the year after. But in a non-traditional way, I just took a break. I did not do my internship right away. I wasn't 100% confident that I would get in, especially since I hadn't really gathered a lot of experience in the field yet. So I spent the next 2 years working in a health food store and then at a company selling supplements, and I thought, I don't know, maybe this is enough. Interestingly, when I applied to my internship, my application was selected because I had experience working at a health food co-op. And I was thinking that I was just wasting my time there. So you never know what decisions that you make might direct your path in nutrition. So after my internship, I knew I really disliked clinical, I had zero interest in food service, and I had no interest in community settings like working at WIC or a Head Start program. I had in my mind that I would be working in a wellness center. I was going to be, helping people with weight loss. That was my idea. But since I needed to find work quickly, I got a job at Whole Foods Market, knowing that it was temporary. But I enjoyed my time there and I learned a lot more about the produce department than I ever imagined that I would. But lo and behold, a job listing came up that was looking for a dietitian to work at their wellness center. I would be teaching cooking classes, weight loss programs, and doing one-to-one counseling, and it was everything that I was hoping for. Just a little bit of a commute is what I had to sacrifice, but I spent an entire year there doing a 1-hour commute, which was a little bit too much over time, and I was ready to try something new. I was ready to upgrade, we could say, out of my entry-level position. But I made the most of my experience in that year, and after 6 months, because I was working for Aramark, I qualified for tuition reimbursement. So my entire last semester of grad school was paid for. It was like a $5,000 raise, you could say. But the question was, what's next? I was ready to move on out of the entry level, looking for the next thing. I still didn't have any clinical experience, but it was feeling a little bit more confident. I was feeling more confident about counseling clients because that's what I was doing. I was looking at the job listings and I found one that was a little bit closer to where I was living, and it was in an outpatient hospital setting. They were looking for a diabetes specialist. But I had no experience with diabetes. I went for it anyway, and get this, I was the last RD that they interviewed, and they hired me. So you never know. You can never prejudge your situations. You never know what the outcome's going to be. So that's a little piece of advice. If you like that nugget, give this video a thumbs up. In this position, I learned probably the most than I did in any other job in my career because it was a multidisciplinary setting and I was working closely with doctors, pharmacists, and other providers to help patients better control their diabetes. So I was so enthralled with everything I was learning. The years went by. I ended up staying there for 4 years and I was just, soaking it all up. But it came a point where I felt like I had maximized my options at the position. There was no more room for growth. I was learning, but not in the same way. I just felt like I wanted to make more of an impact with my clients. And I was working with people that were sick and had diabetes, and so I could only do so much for them. I was really turning my sights towards wellness, like helping people before they got sick. So I had in my mind that wellness was where I wanted to be. I really wanted to do wellness. But overall, all that time invested in that position, I learned so much. It helped me qualify for the CDE or the CDCES diabetes educator exam. I got board certified in that. So that was completely worth my time, and all the coworkers that I met there, it was an amazing experience. In another stroke of luck, I found a job listing for a health coach and dietitian for a local business. Basically, the job was counseling clients, but instead of in a hospital outpatient setting, it was an employee health setting. Introducing corporate wellness, right? I couldn't believe it. Like, this is the job I always thought that I wanted. As I was imagining myself working in the best job I could think of. Loved the idea of wellness. I loved counseling clients, and I wanted to work in a corporation, a place that wasn't focused on sick people, but focused on healthy people staying well. And the fun thing about corporate wellness is that they have a lot of money. You get an office with really nice furnishings. You get to travel. It was a really great situation. And I got to go travel into rural Virginia and stay at B&Bs. I got to travel to New York City to work with designers in the companies that I was working for. So there was a lot of thrill involved, and it just felt like I was utilizing my skill set. Like, I really felt like I was utilizing my skill set, and that was key. I knew that I had a lot of creativity. I had a lot of energy I could give to clients, and I really wanted to make use of that. So I was doing a lot of talks, I was doing a lot of workshops, and it was more than just nutrition. I was a health coach. I was getting training in health coaching at the time. I was working on stress management, meditation. We were talking about healthy sleep, exercise. So it felt like it was hitting all of those areas that were really important to me. And that's what I was trying to follow. I was trying to find work that really matched with what I cared about. So it was a really awesome job until it wasn't. And this is so funny because you think you find the perfect job and you think, I'm going to stay here forever. But eventually, little parts of the job started to annoy me, like having to set an alarm and getting up really early, having to dress, business casual for the dress code. There was all these little things, like the commute started to bother me, the travel started to get to me. So there was little pieces that started to were little signals to me that this wasn't the end. This wasn't the end all be all of my career. Like, there was maybe more decisions to be made. There was maybe more avenues to explore. So I was trying to make peace with what I was really looking for. And I realized it was the management part. It was the organizational part of working for somebody else that really bugged me. Like, I wasn't in control of all of my decisions. I was having managers that were telling me, oh, make this program. Oh, never mind, we don't need it. Or we need you to do this. No, we changed our mind. We need you to do this. And so I started to get really irritated with how I was supposed to do my job. I wasn't in control of that. And so I started to think, if I was fully in control, what would I be doing? And that turned out to be self-employment. I knew at the time that I had to fly the coop and do my very own thing, and that was really working for myself, but I literally had no idea on how to do it. But I didn't let that stop me. I started to make preparations to transition out of my full-time position. And I started to make connections. I was networking, going to health fair events, connecting to other healthcare providers. I found an office space, and I decided just to get that process started of taking insurance. And as soon as I saw my first payment come in from the insurance company, I knew I had found a legitimate way to make money on my own, being my own boss, and it was all up to me at this point. So this really opened up even more doors as far as what I could do with my time and how I could generate income. And the first thing I did was I wrote a book about my entire experience getting out of the workforce and learning the ropes of private practice. There wasn't a lot on the subject at the time, and I was looking for help, but I couldn't find any. So I decided to write my own book, self-publishing it on Amazon. I saved a bunch of time and was able to make sales directly from Amazon as a supplemental income. And it was a great strategy for me at the time because it continues to make monthly sales for me to this day, years later. So ultimately, having more control over my time and schedule allowed me to pursue interests outside of nutrition. And this is where I get a lot more non-traditional, right? So a lot of time, you hear about dietitians in private practice, and that seems pretty traditional, but I was going all the way into non-nutrition topics at this point. I felt like I didn't identify 100% as a dietitian. My tagline is, there's more to me than my RD. I really wanted to branch out and explore some things that a lot of people would just call hobbies, but I wanted to dedicate a lot more time into arts and crafts, keeping bees, making jewelry. I got into going to craft shows and art shows. I started making money selling my wares. I'd never been happier, really being able to feel so free to explore my interests to the degree that I wanted to, not being constrained to the weekends, not being able to make concessions that I only had this amount of time to explore my interests. I felt like I had total control of what I wanted to do. And if I wanted to try something new, I didn't have to ask anybody for permission. I didn't have to ask for vacation days. It was all up to me. And so this is where life takes a turn. We had a big life event. Me and my husband decided to move across country, relocate out west, and build our own home from scratch. We don't have a lot of experience in this, but we were going to build our own home up in the mountains. And this prompted me to pursue the world of YouTube from the encouragement of a friend who suggested, hey, if you guys are going to document your process, a lot of people are watching this stuff on YouTube. You really should start a channel. And so, you know what? I started vlogging our experience in the form of homesteading entertainment on YouTube. And it was just fully immersive because at that time when we moved, I had to stop my private practice. I took a complete sabbatical for 2 years, did not touch nutrition, did not even identify as a dietitian. I was doing art shows, selling jewelry. I was, keeping bees on our homestead, trying to figure out how to grow things at high altitude. When people asked me what I did for a living, I said I was a homesteader, or I made jewelry, or I was a beekeeper. The word dietitian didn't even come up in the conversation. So I felt like that really was the best decision of my career, to take a complete break. And I know it's weird to say not being a dietitian was the best career move, but ultimately it made me appreciate the career even more, and the options that you have and the flexibility that you can have in a dietitian career. So it's so easy to do counseling. It was much less physically demanding than building a home, much less physically demanding even than setting up for art shows every weekend. But at this point, virtual work had taken off, and it was a few years into living in Colorado. Virtual business, a lot of people were having virtual practices, and then the pandemic hit, and I found a position relatively easily that allowed me to work from home and do telehealth as a dietitian coach. And it wasn't long before the independence value and the flexibility need took over, and I decided to resume private practice, but with a telehealth focus. The company I was working for, I had a lot of flexibility about what hours I wanted to work. I had tons of flexibility about how I wanted to set up my schedule, but there was still that piece of organizational management that really bothered me. We had to do our charting in a certain way. We had to do our calls in a certain way. There was just a lot of oversight and management that really ended up getting to me, and I felt like I can do this job with less hassle the way that I want to by having my own business. And so that's when I got back into private practice with a telehealth focus. So I felt like I was back where I started in North Carolina doing private practice, but saving on the overhead, not having to commute to an office. And this allowed me to maximize my revenue potential through counseling, because you can be reimbursed a lot more per hour when you're working for yourself, billing insurance companies, than you can working as an hourly employee. So I was able to really maximize my revenue potential, and I was able to continue all of my interests. I had a lot more flexibility to continue doing YouTube, tending to my bees, and selling jewelry. So overall, I felt like I had the optimal balance, and I still do. I have the optimal balance in satisfaction, not just from my career, but also my lifestyle. I know there's a myriad number of ways to find your satisfaction career-wise, but mine came with valuable self-discovery. I know my ultimate happiness comes from a blend of work and play, flexibility, independence, creativity, knowing that I'm in charge of my destiny and not a manager, an organization, or some institution. I know I only found my way by trusting my gut, listening to my values, and overcoming the fear of the unknown by trusting in myself. And I'm hoping that my story can help you do the same. If you feel like there are more miles to travel on your nutrition career path, I definitely encourage you to take the next step or take a leap of faith and see where it takes you. And let's appreciate the value of being non-traditional, because I can't imagine being a dietitian any other way. If you want some guidance on that, I do offer nutrition business mentoring. You can go to my website and find out some more about it. All right, guys, well, take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.